Pushkin.
FedEx is making lower emission vehicles a priority, reusable packaging a priority, and carbon capture research to offset emissions a priority. Because Earth is a priority. FedEx knows sustainability means a lot to you, and they feel the same way. Their goal is to be carbon neutral by 2040. They call it Priority Earth. Visit fedex.com/sustainability to learn more.
Solvable is sponsored by Discover Card. Are you spending more on groceries this past year? Wanting to order some weeknight takeout? Whether you're spending on the essentials like groceries or splurging on dinner from your favorite local restaurant, do so with your Discover credit card. Only Discover automatically matches all the cash back you've earned at the end of your first year. And it's so easy to earn cash back since the Discover card is accepted at 99% of the places in the US that take credit cards. When it comes to Discover, get used to hearing yes more often. Learn more at discover.com/match. Limitations apply. 2021 Nielsen Report.
This is Solvable. I'm Ronald Young Jr.
You know, religious institutions, the UN estimates they own 8% of habitable land on Earth.
The majority shareholder is the Catholic Church. It has 177 million acres.
We need to realize the power of our portfolios. They're a proposition of what we believe in and our values. They aren't neutral, like anything.
And when it comes to portfolios of land, developing it, growing food, building on it, and living on it are the most familiar uses. Molly Burhans is a member of the Catholic Church. She's also a cartographer and data scientist, and she believes that land can be used to protect the environment and create a more equitable world.
I don't think anyone should have a global data set of all the world's religions, given that land and religion are like the two things that we have the most beef about in history, but also are the two critical leverage points at climate change.
Through her nonprofit, Good Lands, Burhans aims to leverage the power of data to mobilize the church to use its abundance of land assets for the greater good. She's developing a database to house comprehensive maps of all modern Catholic land assets.
If we all realize the potential of our property and make land work for good, biodiversity loss and climate change is a solvable problem.
I am Pentecostal. I grew up a preacher's kid, and I saw something that was interesting about your story, which was that you didn't get serious about your Catholic faith until college, which was a lot like me too. I was saved at 9, but I didn't really get serious about the church and make a commitment until somewhere within my mid-20s. I want to say around 24 or 25. Tell me a little bit about that experience for you.
Well, before that, I'm interested, how did you end up coming back?
You know, it's actually a journey that I'm kind of still on. Mm-hmm. So growing up in church the whole time, viewing the faith, listening to all the tenets, listening to everything that everyone says, being in a faith or faith practice that's a little more conservative than most. If you are a child or a young adult or a person that's questioning those types of conservative practices, you have no one else to interface with or to talk to that may think the same way that you do. And I knew that if I left, then all of the people who were like me at 9 and younger as kids would not have a me to talk to there. And so that's why I stay. And that's kind of what continues me renewing my faith every day. So Molly, tell us a little bit about your path with Catholicism and how it ties into what you do.
My dad was a molecular oncologist. My mom's a computer scientist. And I had been really deep into kind of questions about finding God in all things. So naked mole rats are very interesting creatures. I don't want to call any of God's creation ugly, but they are really, really funky little guys that live under the ground. And they live really long. And, I kind of had this moment and doing some mathematical modeling, it hit me gosh, why would anyone want to live forever? It sounded terrifying to me in a sense. And then, that led to the really deep question of why would anyone want to live today? What's the meaning of life?
Wow.
And And it kind of made me realize faith and science are like, there's a quote that are like my thumb and my fourth finger, and through them I grasp all things. God is love and he's logical. It's not fear, it's love. We want to be here with those we love and celebrate. Why would you want to live forever? It'd be hell if it was anything else but love. That's the only reason. And so meaning of life is love. And then I, had to, after that, it was the long journey of like, whew, how do we do this? And I'm still on that one.
So tell listeners about what it is that you do.
Okay. I run a social enterprise that I founded in 2015. And the social enterprise helps the Catholic Church, but it serves everyone. It can serve anyone with a large portfolio, understand what they own, generally at least 30 properties or more, and implement environmental programs using an understanding of the environment. In the church, so often one of the criticisms you hear of Catholicism is, they're the richest thieves, which is, it's not liquid. I think a lot of people, especially the Catholics, like I know, who are just like working for a diocese, doing the books, like doing ministry, who are like making minimum wage, like the issue is really a management one financially. Mm-hmm. Our property portfolios, any investment portfolio, but a property portfolio right now is shaping the land around it, and it has potential, and it will build the landscapes of our future. And we need to realize the power of our portfolios. They're a proposition of what we believe in and our values. They aren't neutral, like anything. And embodying our faith and our mission to care for the poor and the earth, and reflect that love, and also be responsible financial stewards, you have to use data to do it. And we now have the tools to do that. Mm. So essentially, we digitize records. People can know what they have and where it is, to understand the impact of that property right now and how it can shape the landscapes of our future.
What's your ultimate intent with the work that you do? Like, if you could boil it down, what does that look like?
The big goal, to make the largest global network of ecosystems restoration, making land work for good.
When you say what, just give me a cursory explanation of what you mean when you say make the land work for good.
You want to shelter the homeless? You got to have a shelter. That's land use. You want to feed the poor? You have to grow that food somewhere. Care for the sick. Mm. Oh gosh, we know how much like design and outdoors and ventilation matters now with like COVID. You want to prevent the next pandemic? Mm-hmm. We have to stop destroying habitats. You cannot separate any of our emissions from the environment. Everything goes back to the land.
So you're telling me what you do is you work with the Catholic Church to get a survey of all that land, and you recommend better ways for them to use it?
Yes.
Do you have a successful example of repurposing the land for good and what that looks like?
So I have a master's in ecological design, and I studied under landscape architects. So my first project, which is being built in Springfield, showed me that making land work for good is so encompassing when you do it. It's a food forest and an urban farm for at-risk youth in Springfield, Massachusetts. And you design with the people. The people are the designers. We see community being built, health being built, skills being built, futures being built. It's good because it's so horizontal in its impact when we use our properties well.
Solvable is sponsored by Discover Card. Getting cashback rewards for money you're already spending? Who doesn't love that? With Discover, you earn cashback on every purchase, including your dinner for date night out, new pajamas, and in the past year, probably a new streaming service. I was just talking to my accountant for tax season, and he said, I hope you're paying for everything with your credit card, not your debit card. I said, why's that? He said, because you can be getting cash back. Yes, my accountant brought that up on his own. Are you spending more on groceries this year? Wanting to spend a little more money on a loved one? A pet? The cash back you earn will be matched by Discover automatically. Having a credit card that matches the rewards you already earn is one small thing you can do to stress less about your finances. And Discover makes it even easier, because Discover Card is accepted at 99% of places that accept credit cards. So when it comes to Discover, get used to hearing yes more often. Learn more at discover.com/match. Limitations apply. 2021 Nielsen Report.
It's crazy how much we have to pay for outdated, impersonal healthcare, and even crazier that we all just accept it. It's time to face facts. Healthcare is backwards. Luckily, there's Forward, a new approach to primary care that's surprisingly personal and refreshingly straightforward. Forward never makes you feel like just another patient. Backed by top-rated doctors and the latest tech, Forward gives you access to personalized care whenever you need it. Using in-depth genetic analysis and real-time blood work, Forward's top-rated doctors provide you with in-depth insights to better understand your genetics, mental, and physical health. They then create custom, easy-to-understand plans to help guide you to achieving long-term health. With Forward, you get unlimited in-person visits with your doctor and access to care anytime via the Forward app, all for one flat monthly fee. It's time to stop accepting backwards healthcare and start moving your health forward. Visit GoForward.com today to learn more. That's GoForward.com.
So quick question. Molly, talk to us about why maps are important. It's time-consuming work. So why not just jump in and start making ecologically smart choices as fast as possible, given the urgency of our climate challenges right now?
Yeah. Okay. Because everybody needs a map. Because a map is a blueprint, pretty much. Like if you're doing environmental programs without a map, how I view it is it's kind of like you're building a building without any blueprints. You're just kind of throwing stones. If that makes sense. Like I think it's really problematic, actually. For us, all the projects we did, they weren't just digitizing, but they started to progress to like, okay, now we're going to look at the portfolio financially. Okay, now we're going to look at schools. So why you need a map is if you tried to, even me, look, I'm rambling right now without a map. I could have said everything I just said to you in like 20 seconds and we would have gone out, boom, boom, boom. Here's these data sets. Now we know the story, right?
Yes.
And now if you're working with soils and hydrology and water drainage and if you're going to implement a stormwater management strategy, if you're going to implement tree planting, not only do you need to have the right species in the right place to do it with any sort of ecological integrity, but at the same time, you could have 5,000 times the impact on this one property. And so maps are also about helping your neighbor in need, not just doing it in a sound way, but doing it in a more equitable way.
And then what's the action item after you get the map?
Yeah, so they get like a master plan, which is really just kind of like a strategic plan for their property, but with the impact folded in, with the community input, and with the data so they can continue onwards and also to track what they're actually doing.
And in terms of how what you're doing helps the environment, what has that interaction been like between you and the church?
It's been weird. I somehow got a meeting at 26 years old. At the Vatican, it has been very well received. At this hostel called the Melting Pot in Rome, that's 15 euros a night. I'm mapping an entire global religious order at the time to just like get an idea of the data structure. I'm going to these meetings in like palaces in the evening. And I talked to the Vatican about it from day one and, have been very mindful of security and policy. I think that is one of the kind of greatest outcomes so far of this is that I have been a voice about land security and data security and policy. I actually also had an Association of Buddhist Monasteries come to me to ensure that they know how to do this with their data. I don't think anyone should have a global data set of all the world's religions, lands per se. I think that would be too powerful and high risk, given that land and religion are like the two things that we have the most beef about in history, but also are the two critical leverage points at climate change. Religious institutions, the UN estimates they own 8% of habitable land on Earth. That is larger than India and Sudan combined, and 5% of commercial forests. If we don't succeed as faith institutions in owning our responsibility in the face of this crisis, the world is going down.
How do you convince a faith organization of their responsibility here, though? Because when we talk about climate change, especially when you think about religion and the fact that in a lot of Christian faiths, they see themselves being taken out of here when the world gets to its worst state. So how do you even get organizations to care about something like climate change when they think that they might not even be around for it?
Grueling, absolutely grueling work, to be honest. I guess we've been told it wouldn't be easy, but I never expected what I've faced in this. It's first, it's really education. So what I found is that people are kind of waking up more and more each year. And I think that's a collective effort of the science communicators, the activists, of the faith leaders. It's so devastating, every day, but we keep at it, like all of us, from different faiths and no faiths, and just knowing the human family impact. The funding is the most screwed up thing I've ever seen. Mm-hmm. And it is shocking. So the Pope gave me approval to establish the first scientific institution there in a trial basis. The budget was not enough there. And it's so weird. Like, my salary is less than a McDonald's salary. And I hope it gets fixed for all of us. And I hope all of our faith communities learn to step up, because the interest is there. The leadership, the bishops want this. We have more requests than we could take, and we've already done as much as we can with pulling together these teams. It blows my mind.
Most people that work in activism and work in the work that you are in have an acute awareness that there really is no end. But let's say there is an end. What does that successful journey look like for you?
Well, the big end is the Catholic conservation on the global scale. But I think in the next 5 years, we have right now in our kind of backlog, we have 17 dioceses and 2 major NGOs who want to work with us. I actually think it's an alliance of dealing with the complexities of ownership and healing. Have to heal our communities and each other if we want to heal the land with integrity.
What can listeners do to kind of help to be engaged in your mission?
Just go start Googling permaculture. Just inspire, look at holistic land design. Go find a place locally that is practicing these land management techniques, because you will see a future that you want to live in. Mm-hmm. That is awesome and verdant and abundant. Whatever faith you are and the connections you have, encourage the fiduciary support. That is really the missing piece for all the organizations. I'm terrible at fundraising, but the whole space needs help. It needs money. All of the Faith for Earth, every Faith for Earth organization, desperately.
Was there a way for listeners to get involved directly with the actual map making and help propelling the project forward?
Oh my gosh, if you got 1.3 billion Catholics collecting data on species, we'd have the greatest global species inventory in a month. It'd be so cool. I'm really hopeful, actually, about all of this. Right now, I know our partners at the St. Cattery Conservation Center have an app where you can log different species. I think there's a lot of apps out there too, like the Audubon Society and their Bird Day, bird count. And it's awesome. I'm hopeful about the future. We're all just hacking at it, and I see it happening, and it's coming out, and it's just not just Catholics, but all faiths. The people I've met in the Faith for Earth space, we're all caring about the same thing.
Molly, thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you.
Molly Burhans is the founder and executive director of Good Lands. To learn more about her work mapping the lands of the Catholic Church, and to find links to her suggestions about ways you can get involved with ecological design and mapping, check out the links in our show notes. Solvable is produced by Jocelyn Frank. Research by David Jha. Booking by Lisa Dunn. Our managing producer is Sasha Matthias, and the executive producer of Pushkin Podcasts is Mia LaBelle. I'm Ronald Young Jr. Thanks for listening.
Solvable is supported by ZipRecruiter. Did you ever wish there was a hiring superhero who could make finding great candidates easy? That's what ZipRecruiter is like, without the flowing cape. Instead of fighting crime like other superheroes, ZipRecruiter fights time by helping you find qualified candidates fast. How fast? Well, 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. That's because ZipRecruiter's matching technology identifies people with the right experience for your job and invites them to apply. Ready to conquer hiring? Make sure you go to ZipRecruiter.com/solvable. That's ZipRecruiter.com/solvable. Solvable is sponsored by Discover Card. Are you spending more on groceries this past year? Wanting to order some weeknight takeout? Whether you're spending on the essentials like groceries or splurging on dinner from your favorite local restaurant, do so with your Discover credit card. Only Discover automatically matches all the cash back you've earned at the end of your first year. And it's so easy to earn cash back since the Discover card is accepted at 99% of the places in the US that take credit cards. When it comes to Discover, get used to hearing yes more often. Learn more at discover.com/match. Limitations apply. 2021 Nielsen Report.